Welcome back to the Dunlop Championship of Road America. Let's get right down to the grid in Hannah.
Here we go. I'm down here with Valentin DeBeese. Valentin, all eyes are on you as you make your return to MotoAmerica this season. How are you feeling going into this race today?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm really excited to race again, and it was a long road since I came back here, and I will just try to enjoy myself and do my best, and yeah, let's see how it goes. But first thing, it's enjoy and having fun.
Great, thank you so much. Best of luck.
Very confident and good racetrack for him to come back to, fast and flowing. And he said the brain got right up to speed quickly.
Yeah, and it did too. I was out there. He was first one out like he always is for practice, and he was up to speed quickly. As you get a look here at our starting grid, JD Beach did set pole to 2:18.8. Bees was just right behind him there in second. Hayden Gillum, the guy that's been kind of pushing JD this year, got himself up on the podium, talked to a couple of his crew guys. They're all talking about how big he is, and I agree with them. Richie Escalante did a good lap this morning. Corey West, third in the points, comes here on the TSE Yamaha R6, qualifies himself right in the middle of second row next to Michael Gilbert. Third row, Nick McFadden, good job from him. Miles Thornton, I've been keeping an eye on him. Really good job from Miles this weekend so far in the middle of row 3. Jason Aguilar put in a good lap there at the end of the second qualifying this morning. Bryce Pence, Mazziato a little further back than normal. Expect him to move to the front. JC Camacho rounds out row 4 onto row 5. Braden Norton, who you saw in a profile there just a little bit ago, starts row 5. Ashton Yates, Lucas Silva on the outside there. Daytona Anderson, Xavier Zayat, good to see him around. Caroline Olsen there in row 6 will not start, unfortunately. Row 7, we got Benjamin Smith, Jarrett Nassani, Aaron Graham. Row 8, back to Giannato, Nolan Lampkin, and Carl Soltis, also on a TSE Racing Yamaha. Fernando Silva, Kinsler Naylor, Jeremy Simmons, and Mauricio Rocky. Round out your grid there for the 600 class, Greg.
28 riders qualified for this one. It looks like 27 going to take the start, as Caroline Olsen, like you mentioned, will not be in this race. Arm pump issues for Olsen in her return to MotoAmerica competition. Hey, we want you to be involved with us at Be In Motor. Make sure you hashtag Be In MotoAmerica. Who will claim the Supersport race #1? Tweet us your answer using the hashtag, either hashtag DeBees, RA1, hashtag Escalante, RA1, hashtag JD Beach, RA1. Let's see who you think is going to take victory here in the Supersport race, as these riders are at full focus right now as we are getting closer and closer to the race start. Jason, let's talk about grid position here at Road America. Some racetracks we go to absolutely critical, to be on that pole position, to be the closest one to turn #1. But here at Road America, it is not as crucial as some of the places that we go to.
No, and I think the big question that a lot of people have in the paddock is how big the lead draft will be here. You can literally, Greg, be second and a half, but if you can get toes down these straightaways, that's the big thing. And the other thing that I always look for at the start of these races is the big moves that are going to get made down into turn 5, down into turn 8. You want to make sure that you make a good solid move, but you don't want to create gaps. You don't want to run wide. You don't want to create the gap to where the group in front of you can now kind of draft away from you. So it's really an exercise of controlled chaos, really, when you get down into turn 5, the first laps. You want to improve your position, but you don't want to let the group in front of you that you want to stay with get away by making a mistake.
So many great stories happening in the Supersport race. One of the big things, though, as we look at Valentin DeBeese, second on the grid on that M4 X-Star Suzuki, as he is returning to competition in MotoAmerica. He missed those first 3 rounds of competition because of his huge crash at the Daytona 200 earlier on in the season. Before our MotoAmerica season got started, is Valentin always working on his speed to get quicker and quicker during the winter months. And Jason, in talking with him, he was commenting that he just had the fastest, he's just the fastest he's ever been during the winter, and wanted to carry that momentum into the season. Unfortunately,
Daytona Anderson, I saw them pushing him off the grid, and it looks like they're actually pushing him behind the wall, Greg. Doesn't look like Daytona's going to get the opportunity to start this race. So that's not good.
That's the M4 Ridiculous Racing Suzuki. Thing won't run, at least for now, as our warm-up lap is underway, and Valentin DeBeese wants to lead the way. Another rider, I think, to note is Hayden Gillum. The last time we saw him, Hayden Gillum had a crash. But just didn't have the front-end feel. I talked to his main guy, who works on the suspension, Rick Deeney, and Rick was telling me that they have found the front-end feel for Hayden Gillum back in his Ridiculous Racing Yamaha. And also, as of note, 96 Jason Aguilar, of course, who is our reigning champion in the Superstock 600 class from last year, was one of the only riders to go quicker this morning than did yesterday, and that was due to that same ridiculous racing team finding better front end feel for the 96. So Jason Aguilar, look for him to move up.
That team's been a real welcome in the paddock this year. They've really stepped up their program. They got great people working for them. I did talk to Ken Hill this morning a little bit, and we talked about the disadvantages and advantages that Hayden has regarding his size around this place and that kind of thing. So, that the whole team down there have done a great job to get both their riders up to pace a little bit more. But yeah, this morning Jason was able to improve in a session where a lot of riders didn't. So it's nice to see them get him the feel that he needs.
Variety of motorcycles in this class. As outside of our commentary positions, we look at riders warming up into the chicane, we can actually see Daytona Anderson pushing the bike. He's on our side of the grid, so I'm not sure if they got that bike going or not. There is a break in the wall on the front straightaway. It looks like they're going to have to park that motorcycle. So unfortunately, for all you Daytona Anderson fans and the M4 Ridiculous Racing Suzuki out of Riverside, California, that his race is going to be done. So when the riders come around, they're going to come up the hill and they're going to take their grid positions. Once everyone's set, the lights will turn red and then they're going to go off, and it'll be that dash to turn number 1 as JD Beach looks to extend his championship lead. So this is race number 5 of the season, and so far JD hasn't finished lower than second spot. He's got 3 wins and a second place finish. Hayden Gillum unfortunately gave up a heap of points to JD at race number 4, which was our second race at VIR last time the series had a race event. Hayden Gillum with a DNF, so it's a 30-point gap. And of course, you heard Valentin DeBees earlier on in the broadcast talking about he could win every race and have JD finish second, and JD would still win the championship.
It looks like they got Daytona's bike started. I'm just looking out the left side of my window here. Maybe not. So I was just having a look, Greg. They were trying to bump start him. It doesn't look like they were successful doing it. So he'd be able to take off after the grid went through.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can start from, it's the right side of your screen. But, all right, so as we get this monstrous grid all set and ready to roll, last-minute adjustments for Hayden Gillum on the 69. And the green flags are flying. So it's time to go racing. Race number 1 from MotoAmerica. It's Supersport race action coming at you.
Great start from JD Beach right off the bat. You're going to see the Bees get into the draft as quickly as you can. Corey West from the second row. Looks like he's jumped up to third, and a tremendous start from Michael Gilbert coming from that second row also. He's going to got himself into fourth. Looks like Escalante just behind him. Gillum, a little bit of a slow start off the line. That's the size thing you're going to see, Greg. He's going to have to do his best to get in the draft. Look at these front 2 guys already. Hayden's trying to slide underneath Michael Gilbert as they go into turn 3 on the first lap. Now it's that big drafting war. This is where, if during the week you haven't practiced any drafting, it's going to become key. Valentin is right in the draft of JD Beach as they head down into turn 5, and he's going to lead the way under braking down into turn 5 for the first time.
M4X Star Suzuki versus that Yamaha Monster Energy Yamalu YS Graves Yamaha. Valentin got around him. That was actually something
JD
impressive.
Beach just let go of the lever and we got riders down in the background there, Greg, down into turn 5. You can see it as these guys were coming up into turn 6. Looks like there's about 2 or 3 guys. And there's, it looks like Camacho. Yep. It looks like Benjamin Smith, who's had a bad weekend, just bad luck weekend so far. But these 2 guys have separated themselves already from that group behind them.
Valentin DeBees shadowing JD Beach. This is what we hope to see. Valentin having won a race here at MotoAmerica for his Suzuki team since being here in the United States. So JD Beach going through the carousel into turn 11A, 11B. We call it the chicane made with motorcycles in mind, no question about it.
Look who's trying to go. Hayden Gillum's trying to go with him as you get another look here. It looks like Camacho, it looks like Xavier Zayat and Benjamin Smith all go down. All riders are up and okay, which is a good sign. But Hayden Gillum he was 5th or 6th, maybe 5th going in turn 1. You see DeBees now makes the move going down into Canada Corner, moves over a little bit on JD as they head down into Canada Corner to slide underneath him. But Hayden Gillum's doing his best to go. You can see Corey West there in 4th, Richie Escalante there in 5th as well. These guys kind of getting rolling again from that turn 5 instance. Tremendous lap here from Hayden Gillum on these last 3 sectors of an opening lap, trying his best to go with the 2 guys in front of him. I really didn't think he had a chance, Greg. I thought they were far enough ahead of him.
So they come across the line for this first completed lap, and it's going to be Valentin DeBees who will get credited for the race lead at this point. Here comes JD Beach. Is he going to be aggressive under braking? No, he doesn't do it. So Valentin DeBees, M4 X-Star Suzuki. Now, Jason, one of the things Valentin was telling me in the offseason, he and his team had a chance to go to Thunder Hill and test this motorcycle, and they tried a brand new baseline setup, and that's where they sit right now. Part of his confidence with this motorcycle, they worked really hard to find this baseline, and since coming here this weekend, they've made a click here and a click there trying to get away from it, and they keep going back to it. JD Beach in the draft, heading to turn number 5. He takes over the spot, but who's got it on the brakes as they head down to turn 5? The B's a little sideways, so it's JD for the moment.
Yep, and then just in the background there, you saw Corey West make the move on Escalante as they went into turn 5 as well. As long as these 2 guys keep swapping paint, maybe those 3 behind can somehow get together, work together a little bit to try to get back up to the front. The fear is that these 2 will get away, but Gillum did such a tremendous time last sort of like 3/4 of the first lap there. All of his 3 splits were all purple as he was the fastest guy, but they're just getting away here, Greg, and that's all going to be, these guys were able to draft and redraft each other as they went down that straightaway going down into 5. You see Corey West and Escalante, they have come with these other 3 guys, and they've pulled a big gap. Real quick shout out, 6th spot across the line. Braden Orr coming from row 5. Kid's a racer, Greg.
No doubt about it. So Hayden Gillum trying to do everything he can to stay with these riders, but when they get to the long straightaways, there's 2 of them here at MotoAmerica, he loses about 5 miles per hour, and it's just his size, like not his weight so much as just the size of his body. They're side by side for a moment for the lead. JD continues to hold on.
All Hayden's got to do, Greg, is literally gain another 2 or 3 bike lengths before the last corner, and he might be able to get in the draft with a double bike draft, because it just becomes a lot harder. You can see he is riding the absolute wheels off that bike, and he's got to do it now while the tires are new. While the tires are new, he's got a bike underneath him that he probably feels like he can override just a little bit, and that's going to help him close the gap. But see, here's what happens. DeBees is now going to be able to draft up and through JD Beach, and that is just pulling these 2 away from Hayden. And the 2 guys behind them, they're just going back and forth as well. And you can see Corey West and Escalante get close as they head down into turn 1.
Valentin DeBees takes over the lead from JD Beach after a nice draft and pass maneuver down into turn number 3. And Hayden Gillum on the 69 didn't seem to lose as much that time on the draft. Here, this is that crazy battle between Corey West, that's number 36. Of course, he sits 3rd in the championship.
What these guys got to do behind him, Corey and Escalante, is they've got to continue to push, because if Hayden has to push his own win like he's doing now and it continues, JD Beach goes underneath the B's as they head down into turn 5. Let's see if Valentin's not quite close enough to turn it back underneath him. So again, you got this battle between these 2 guys. And these guys know each other well, Greg. They've raced each other a lot over the last 2 years.
Giving each other a lot of room.
Yep.
Of course, turn 5, a favorite of JD Beach, no question. The left-hander, the dirt tracker, loves that type of downhill and really front-end feel, sending the rear end sideways type of corner.
And they both know early in the race, obviously early in the race, they don't want to do anything that's going to bring other people into play. So they're going to be veterans about what they're doing. As you can see, DeBees looks really solid around here in the carousel. And that's an important place to have your bike set up well for. Now, he was doing an upshift out of here the other day when I was down there watching. He was one of the few guys doing an upshift out of the carousel, but look what it's done. Hayden Gillum again has ran a very, very fast 2nd sector. He's drawn his way back up to the back of these guys.
This guy must be killing himself right now.
Yeah.
So frustrated. I mean, he's riding the wheels off of that ridiculous racing, that purple motorcycle. He's the number 69. But every time they get to these long straightaways, just, well.
Now he's close enough though, Greg. So this is the gap that he needed to close. Now, if he could be right behind the both of them coming out of the last corner, he might be able to go. This is where we're going to be able to see if he's actually going to be able to do anything or not. He might even try to go underneath DeBees into the last corner.
Yeah, I think you're right. If he's got a chance, he needs double draft. He needs
a
big hole in the air. So onto the front straightaway they go. It's a big climb up this hill. And you can see the drive right there, just a couple of bike lengths where they gap Hayden Gillum. As they come across the stripe this time,
19.5 for Hayden, 19.5 fastest lap of the race. But he's going to be close enough again as they go down in turn 3.
That's a lot closer for
Yeah,
Gillum.
this is a lot better. What a tremendous job.
Looks like Nolan Lampkin crashed in turn number 9. So the number 52 rider, Lampkin,
That's
down
the
in this
carousel.
one.
That's going to be fast, Greg.
Yeah.
That's in and through the carousel. There he is right there. It's just on the outside of the carousel. It's probably going to be one of those things where he's lost the front end going in there. But yeah, you can see these two guys just, once they get in each other's slipstreams, they're just able to get away from him. But he's going to have a good look at these guys through the infield this lap. This is the closest he's been as DeBees now slides up underneath JD as they go into turn 5. And Hayden's just got to do everything he can to pressure these two guys as much as he can. You can see behind them, it looked like Escalante is up to 4th now.
And the big advantage, too, for Gillum is, yes, they're giving themselves a lot of room as JD Beach and Valentin Bees, but they're also racing each other, and it's going to slow them down ever so slightly. So Gillum, so close in this one as the M4 X-Star Suzuki rider Valentin DeBees leads this one over Monster Energy Yamalu YES Grades Yamaha. JD Beach, your championship points leader. But his championship rival, Gillum, is running hard.
And he's going to want to have a go. Don't be surprised to see Hayden try to go up underneath JD into one of these chicanes or somewhere like that, because he is second in points. He needs to make up some ground. And but right now you can see DeBees incredibly fast through the carousel. That's where that gap has come from. That little bit of a gap that you see, that's going to be down through the carousel. We saw him earlier on try to ride around the outside of JD there. And the bike looked very, very stable and very good around that big, long right-hander.
Again, another straightaway. That Kettle Bottoms into Canada corner. Gapping Hayden Gillum a little bit. Can JD make up this gap on Valentin DeBees? We might see the fastest lap of the race here on lap 4 from Valentin DeBees, the Frenchman, leading this one in Supersport race number 1 at the Dunlop Championship at MotoAmerica. Onto the front straightaway we go through turn number 14. You can see the climb up that big hill. Everyone trying to sniff that draft. Valentin DeBees will come across the line and lead this one. And indeed, the fastest lap of the race for DeBees, a 2:19.339, as Beach a little closer, able to use that draft to at least get a bike length back.
Yep, and he'll be closer as they come out of turn 3. And the rules are a little bit different this year than they were last year, Greg. So that's why we haven't necessarily maybe seen the times that we saw here last year either. But I think it's also made the Suzuki a little bit more competitive with the Yamahas this year specific, and we're getting a chance to see that now. But you can see JD gets in that draft coming out of turn 3. He's able to go back past Valentin as they head down into turn 5. And DeBees is going to try to is he going to try to go back underneath him? He thought about it.
Yeah, thought maybe he was in there a little too hot. Able to gather it back up as Hayden Gillum continues his accordion effect around this race course. Corey West had a problem, Jason. He's dropped back to 12th.
Yep, came across 229 flat, so obviously he may have ran wide going down into turn 5 or somewhere like that, where we have some runoff here, and got himself back on track and going again. But yeah, that's too bad, because I could see in the background that Escalante was riding by himself, and that's what caught my eye when we looked at our timing screen. Look at Gillum now. But see, look at the Suzuki of DeBees, how he's able to just kind of keep that speed through the middle of it.
And the thing is, JD now knows since the last lap that Valentin is faster in the carousel. So JD, being the race mind that he has, is going to try to make sure he's in front of him that entire time, so he doesn't have to work as hard to get back by him. So JD Beach, a very heads-up racer, as we've seen from years past, number 95.
And we've been wondering who might bring the fight to these guys. We knew DeBees would come back strong, and he's trying to go up underneath JD right now as they head into Canada corner. Very, very close between these two. Gillum's sitting there watching, but let's not take our eye off the guy in the background. And when you see these guys coming up the screen, just look in the background. Escalante is doing the best he can, pushing his own wind to try to get up with these guys. He also ran a 2:19.6 his last lap, fastest lap of the race for him. But these guys right now, quick third, fourth sector here from Gillum. He's right behind JD now, and you can see, Greg, as soon as JD kind of gets drawn up into Valentin's thing, he just pulls away from Hayden ever so slightly.
Again, very similar motorcycles. JD Beach, Hayden Gillum. The foundation of that motorcycle the same. So it just comes down to that size. So there's Richie Escalante. Escalante in 4th spot right now. Now Escalante is 7th in the points, but he has a podium this year, and he hasn't finished, when he started a race, hasn't finished below 5th place on the season. So it did not start for our first round, and then fifth, a third, and a fifth. Escalante with a look over his shoulder to see if anyone's behind him. As we see on our timing and scoring screens, it's almost 8 seconds back to fifth place for Escalante. Back up front we go. JD Beach going sideways again.
And it's just little things for Escalante to try to close this gap. All it's going to take is for these guys just to get a little bit racy in front of him. He's just got to try to keep his head looking forward, going straight, and maybe just try to get up with these guys. Because when you got 3 in the mix, and as soon as they all know they're there, I'm sure DeBees and JD have crossed the line in second and still seen +0 on their board. So they know Hayden's going to be back there. So, and you're right, Greg. Watch JD as he comes out of the carousel, how late he makes his move back over to the right going into the chicane, because he knows DeBees is fast all the way down and through here. So JD's going to use up all the track on the left here on the exit of the carousel. You can see that. Then he kind of gently moves his way over, and there goes Gillum. And that's exactly now. Now, Valentin didn't know. He knows now that Gillum is there.
What a move by Hayden Gillum to work his way into second spot. Valentin DeBees, a little bit of a surprise there, but he's going to use a superior drive and a smaller draft profile to get right around Gillum as they head into turn number 12, Canada corner. Gillum trying to go up the inside again, so he makes that move work. Oh, Gillum up and almost out of the saddle. Not as dramatic as I called it, but still a little bit of tire wear.
But that's because he was a little bit tighter, and he's trying to get off the turn to go with JD. So he's got a little bit more lean angle, a little bit earlier in the corner than he would normally have. So he's on the gas as hard as he can. And look, he's now trying to chase JD down. Valentin's going to get a double draft here, Greg. Wouldn't be surprised to see him leading by the time they get down to turn 1.
Working the magic on the straightaways at MotoAmerica. Valentin DeBees, he makes quick work of Hayden Gillum. That second spot, Gillum trying to fan out and use the brake lever. But that's the way it's going to be as we start with 5 laps to go. So lap number 7's begun. It's JD Beach, Valentin DeBees, and a very aggressive Hayden Gillum. All the while, Richie Escalante's back there. And if you're wondering what's going on, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, Jason Aguilar, Braden North, Bryce Prince in a crazy battle for 5th spot. Already out of turn number 3, heading down to turn 4. Now, down the hill, quite a sensation into turn number 5. Valentin DeBees, M4 X-Star Suzuki, is going to take it. Beach knows it's desperate time. He's got to make a move before that carousel, because the speed of Valentin DeBees is nuts.
Yeah, look at this great slow motion replay. As they come into the last corner, you can see exactly what the bikes and things are doing underneath them. There's really good close-up stuff from our camera guys. You can see JD's got a front soft and an extra soft rear on that bike.
Part of the options that Dunlop brought to the table in this one. So good replay, good tight shots. Back up front we go, and through the carousel they went, and it was Valentin DeBees who had that advantage.
He has a lot of mid-corner speed. Now, in this little section the other day, I went down there and watched Valentin. You can see him doing a quick shift, Greg. It's because he's going back to first. He actually upshifts out of the carousel, does it, then actually has the bike back down into first gear as he goes through that chicane. So to get the best drive he possibly can out of that little chicane, he was one of the few riders. I saw a couple other ones doing it, but DeBees, for me, was getting it back down to first gear. But even if you watch him in through turn 1, he carries a lot of mid-corner speed, even through the turns like this and into the last corner. A lot of mid-corner speed.
Sometimes, Jason, as you know, one good solid test can do it in the offseason. Yep. You get a great baseline setting in terms of setup and the way the motorcycle fits and turns for you, and you're looking at what is going on with the M4 X-Star Suzuki team and Valentin DeBees right now as he looks so confident. A lot of people thought maybe he'll ease his way back into this championship. The Frenchman came back to the States, and he is putting a stamp on it early on. DeBees leading this one as we have 4 laps to go. Bit of a gap forming now. He might be pulling the pin.
Wow, look at this battle, Greg.
It's a
Corey
train.
West has found himself trying to climb his way back up from where he came from when he ran off the track, wherever that might have been. He's got Bryce Prince now, Aguilar, but Corey has done a tremendous job chipping away back at getting himself in this fight and getting himself to the front of this fight now. And you can see Braden Norton has gone back just a little bit back to 9th.
Yeah, just 2 laps ago, he had made a pass for 5th spot. So these riders just shuffling themselves all over the place. as that is 5th place on the racetrack, and it looks like Corey West with that extra pace. He's trying to go chase down Richie Escalante, but at this point, Escalante doing the same virtual lap times that our front runners are. As the Bees last time around did a 19.1, then a 19.7 for JD Beach, 19.8 for Gillum, and a 19.7 for Escalante.
Oh, or it gets a little sideways. And that happens, Greg, when you start tipping in a little bit early into turn 6. If both wheels aren't in line, it'll snap back underneath you because you come up over the top of a rise. And you just saw the bike just snapping under him. Bryce Prince doing a good job here as well. Like you say, he's got himself up to 6th.
So Bryce Prince out of Bakersfield, California, and the Excelsius Print Solutions KWR machine. And then you have 96 Jason Aguilar on that ridiculous racing Yamaha. And then behind him, well, you have a whole gaggle of riders,
Miles Thornton's
really.
in that group.
Miles Thornton, now Anthony Mazziato's in the mix.
Yep.
And Toon Racing's Braden Nort, obviously. Yep. Michael Gilbert, though, who had a good start early, has been drifted back to 12th spot in this one. Nick McFadden in 11th.
Yeah, he's right at the back of that group there is Michael, but Nick looked like he's closed that gap up to those guys a little bit as well. So that's a huge battle for 5th place and back.
Jason, if you're Hayden Gillum right now, if you can just, I don't know if his tires are starting to wear out or whatever, but because he has really worked it hard. At this point, Jay, what do you think Hayden Gillum, if he has any strategy at this point, what is it?
I think it's
How about finish 3rd?
It's just a really hard one for him. He's done a good job to get himself away from the rest of the guys that I felt like might be able to stick their nose. You can see they broke away from Escalante a lot this lap. I'm not sure. Looks like Richie maybe made a mistake this lap himself. A 2:23.6. He's been lapping the exact same as these guys, but it is so hard to do it on your own like Richie was doing. And now these two guys have pulled enough away where it's going to be harder now for Hayden to kind of catch back up. And I know JD doesn't want to give Valentin the mental edge of being able to come right back over into the series and start winning. So JD will probably try to take another shot here, but it'll be interesting to see if Hayden has, Hayden's got it on one wheel behind him there. He's in deep. And Greg, it's really hard. We talked a little bit about this in the 300 Supersport race a little bit earlier in the day. It's really hard to ride as hard as you can into every braking zone for 11 straight laps without making a mistake. And when the tires were good under, look at this, guys. These guys are all over the place. You can see Ort now trying to get himself underneath Mazziato and Aguilar, which he does. And there's Miles Thornton. Good to see him up racing with this bunch of guys here.
That's for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. This battle on this racetrack is getting crazy. And it looks like Nick McFadden's starting to make some moves as well, as he's kind of the second rider in the back of that freight train, as Corey West has gotten by and moved his way into a solid 5th place spot.
Good damage control for Corey West here, because he was behind all these guys. He must have had a little runoff. He got behind a lot of them and picked his way back through them. So if 5th is something that he has to look at here, it's going to frustrate him. I know it's going to frustrate Corey, but he's done well.
But the big point, too, for him is that actually for Corey West is he is 3rd in the points championship, and just behind him is the 30 of Braden Nort on that Toon Racing machine. Oh, there was a big mistake from Aguilar.
Yep.
That was a good save.
That's a great save for him. And it's going to allow Michael now to go through him. It's going to be hard for Jay to catch back up to those guys. But it looked like he just got a little bit out of shape. Maybe he's another one of the guys going back down to 1st gear and just got the bike a little sideways going into the chicane. But that's one guy that these guys aren't going to have to worry about. Nick McFadden is methodically kind of just started to pick his way through these guys a little bit.
Nick McFadden out of Owensboro, Kentucky, and the M4 Med-Age Suzuki, starting to find some good rhythm for him, as now the late stages of these race. Late stages of this race, Jason, any race, we always find people that have, well, good tire management skills or maybe even a better setup. They're able to conserve that tire a little bit, start to move their way forward.
Yep. Guys at the front still doing low 19s, Greg. 19.1, 19.2, or 19.1, 19.3 for the guys up in the lead. This group here, just a few ticks off. They're doing in the low 21s to mid 21s. Corey's running 21.2 by himself. So these guys here are just a little bit off of that.
All right, so there's number 74, Bryce Prince, on that Excelsius Print Solution KWR Yamaha R6, leading this freight train. That's in 6th spot.
This JC Camacho, Greg, they've caught. JC picked his bike up.
Yeah, he did.
JC's fast, so it's going to be hard. He probably doesn't even know. Now he knows these guys are behind him. But good job from JC just moving over. And you can see these guys have, unfortunately, dropped Hayden a little bit this last couple laps. Just hard for Hayden to do what he was doing at the beginning of the race for that many laps. What a great effort he's put in today.
But JD Beach has also closed the gap. It was about a half a second. So JD is working it, and he's thinking to himself, I think if you're JD, the big thing at this point is, as time runs out in this race, he's got to figure out a way to get by Valentin DeBees through that carousel. That might be the indication to JD.
Even there, Greg, see, JD's in second gear when he comes out of there. At least he was the other day. So he's in the torque curve of that Yamaha. So he feels like he can get on the gas as early as he wants. The problem is that as the race goes on and your tires get worn, a bike in the torque curve can be a little bit sketchy, a little bit dangerous. Valentin goes back to first gear there coming out of that chicane like we spoke about earlier. He's going to have a little bit better drive grip only because he's going to be able to control the throttle a lot more in a higher RPM. So you're going to see here, this is that's not Escalante, is it? Is that, yeah, that's Escalante.
That's Escalante.
Oh, so he's gone down to turn 5.
Wow, heartbreak for Richie Escalante as the white flag flies on this race. So last lap, we're working it. Escalante crashed himself out of 4th spot. So we'll see how this whole thing shifts out. That's going to move Corey West up a position. And Corey West, instead of 11 points, could earn 13 in his bid to stay in the top 3 of this championship.
And that's the kind of stuff that needs. But getting back at it here, now these two guys have come up, and I'm sure JD's going to learn a lot about what he saw here with Valentin. But Valentin just doing such an awesome job. First race back. That crash at Daytona we saw in a preview here in our pre-race show with Chris Orridge talking about it. It was one of the scariest crashes I've ever seen, and I know exactly what that place is like. And as you can see, JD is now closed up onto the back of DeBees. But this is kind of, to me, where DeBees has been shining. And we'll see if he's able to open a gap down through the carousel and see what kind of gap he can pull as he comes out of that chicane going down to Canada Corner. I believe that's where the race will be won or lost right now for DeBees if JD can't quite get close enough to him. Right now, JD's doing a tremendous job of kind of getting that little bit of that gap and getting it closer.
Yeah, how much do you risk, though, if you're JD Beach at this point? You have this championship lead, you have a bit of a gap.
Yeah, he wants to win, Greg.
I know.
He's seasoned enough. He knows. JD knows what's going on. But see, this is where Valentin has been good. JD's kind of gone with him here a little bit, but that gap, you can still see it, can't you? You can still see there's a little bit of a gap now.
Especially finishing the carousel.
The drive out of here is what I'm looking for, because JD knows he's got to get off this corner really good. And he did. JD didn't get off there too bad, but that back shift, I believe, to first gear that Valentin does really helps him get out of that corner. JD's close enough, though. He's definitely close enough.
So into turn number 12. This is through Kettle Bottoms into Canada Corner. JD not close enough to strike. They're going to go through Thunder Valley to the Bill Mitchell bend. So this is Thunder Valley. Now this left-hander. And into turn 14 we go. The only chance JD has, he's got to be closer than this.
Yep, he
does.
does.
Into Beast, not even protecting the inside line.
He doesn't need to. He's ran such a great last lap, and he's done such a good job of being able to carry that roll speed. Greg, how about this for the first time back?
Up the hill we come. Valentin DeBees in his first MotoAmerica race of 2018 will take that M4 X-Star Suzuki all the way to the checkered flag and to victory, setting the fastest lap of the race on the last lap.
Both guys do their personal best. Fastest lap of the race for Valentin. Tremendous, tremendous run for him.
Here comes that crazy battle for 5th spot. And it looks like Braden Orr as they come up the hill. Looks like Nick McFadden trying to get a position extra. They'll come across the line. And it's Bryce Prince on our timing and scoring screen. That will actually advance to 5th spot over Braden Orr. Nick McFadden 7th, Anthony Masiato 8th, Miles Thornton 9th, Michael Gilbert 10th, Jason Aguilar in 11th spot. So the margin of victory in this one, 0.3 of a second. Hayden Gillum, of course, in 3rd, Corey West in 4th spot. So a great, great, great race. The difference, Jason, between 5th and 6th in this one, 0.010.
Very, very close. Good race. I think when you look back at this race and you see what DeBees just did there, literally from the entry to the carousel to the exit to the end of the lap, it's just so clean and so perfect. And that's what you got to do. It's hard to win a race from the front like he just did, especially when you come down through there like that. Very difficult to do.
So Valentin DeBees talked about it with me earlier on in the day about how much work he did in the winter months to get more speed and more speed back home in France. He and his team going to Thunderhill testing, finding some magic, a baseline setup, and even after sitting at home and recovering from back and neck pain and a head injury and little things, Jason, like he had broken finger, he told me, some ribs were broken, a rib was broken. He said none of that really mattered.
All the little stuff.
All the little stuff. He was at home, Jay, and he was just like, he didn't watch the first 2 races of the season, and when he turned it on and started to watch what was going on at VIR, he got the bug again and said, I just cannot wait to come back, and he's done it in fine style. 2:19.107.
And pushing his own win the whole time. So it just goes to show you how clean that last lap was that he ran. Tremendous ride from Hayden Gillum here, number 69. Can't say enough about him and that whole crew. They did a great job. This is kind of one of those weekends where I really feel if they can get him on the podium twice and just kind of keep his season rolling. The only mistake we saw out of him was at VIR. That's going to happen every now and then, but you know, we're going to go to some other tracks where Hayden's going to just be really right there. This is going to be a hard one for him this weekend, but he gets a couple solid podiums out of here this week. I think that team will be more than happy.
I mean, the long view of this, too, looking ahead at the championship, I mean, you know, it's the 5th race of the season, Jason, but if you look at the difference between first and second, obviously 5 points. The difference between second and third is 4. Yep. So it's, you know, what Valentin DeVries did there in terms of Hayden Gillum's deficit in this championship run with JD Beach is, well, he's kind of, you know, he's reduced the pain a bit by a single point. Yep. So now JD's going to have an advantage of 34 instead of 35 over Hayden Gillum. So a great run from him, and a credit to Hayden Gillum's ridiculous team and Rick Matheny and his crew out there getting him better front end feel, because I'm telling you, Jay, you know, the way that Hayden Gillum's weekend started was not great, and finding that front end feel and giving him that ability to really get into the corners the way he wanted to, he showed us some magic at the beginning of this race.
Yes, he did, and he took advantage of the tires while they were new, but you know, and maybe they can make some adjustments to make it even better for him. And you know, at the end of one of these races, I know these riders, especially the ones that haven't won, there's only one winner obviously, but they're all looking forward to getting with their crew chiefs, talking about what they can make changes to try to make their day tomorrow better. And when you put your head on that pillow at night, you can almost hardly wait till warm-up, Sunday morning warm-up comes along.
So once again, Valentin DeVries, your winner on that M4 X-Star Suzuki. And he did it in really the best way possible. I mean, he knew JD Beach was on fire, and JD, to his credit, turned his personal best time, a 2:19.117. But Valentin DeVries was able to go 1/100th of a second quicker with the fastest lap of the race on lap 11. Make no mistake, the Frenchman is back, and he is serious. At the beginning of the show, he mentioned that he's done the math, that if he won every race here on out, that he would still not be able to win the championship if JD Beach finishes second place. But his quest to try to win this championship has begun as Valentin DeVries takes victory. We'll take a break here on beIN Sports. When we come back, we'll hear from him, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to MotoAmerica in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, as we have our Supersport race number 1 completed, and it was a spectacular race. And one rider who put on a heck of a show for all of us fans was Hayden Gillum, and he's down with Hanalopa.
Hayden, that was a really strong start for you. Couldn't quite hold on to those guys. We were just talking about how you can lose like 40 pounds before tomorrow's race. How are you feeling?
You know, honestly, coming into the weekend, I was hating life. You know, this is always one of my worst tracks, being a bigger guy, and now being on a bike that doesn't have as much horsepower to carry me around, it was nerve-wracking coming in. But since Virginia, we've been chasing the front end on the bike, and we found it a little bit yesterday, and then made some more changes this morning, and then had an issue with the bike and only got a lap and a half really this morning. So it was kind of a gamble in the race. But, you know, I'm really happy that I was able to ride with these guys, Valentin being back and strong. It's cool. There's 3 of us now kind of that are on it. And, oh, man, it's hard. Those guys are so fast. And actually with some of the changes we made, all of a sudden the braking I felt super strong. And so I was able to make a couple passes on Valentin under braking, and but you know, it was a really good race. I'm so thankful for all the guys, Robert, Sean, and Chad, for doing such an awesome job on the job, and you know, the whole Ridiculous team, Josh, Adam, Kelly, Rick, you know, everybody that's behind us. It's been fantastic.
Thanks, Hayden. Congrats.
Absolute great ride from Hayden Gillum, and yeah, you could see where he was really making up that time. The brakes being super strong, and here's one of his big moves when he worked his way into second spot temporarily, and a surprise move, I think, for all of us. Thought maybe he'd just hang back there, but very aggressive and clean riding from Hayden Gillum. Congratulations. Well, he finished second. He did the fastest lap of his personal race on the last lap, trying to chase down our winner. He's with Hannah right now.
You had your fastest lap on the last lap. Greg and Jason were just saying Valentin really made you work for it today. Tell us about your battle with him.
Yeah, I mean, he was riding great. I mean, I know it's his first race back, but I know when he was at home, he wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. And I really expected him to come out like this, and he was riding great and really made me work for it. And we definitely have some work for tomorrow, but I mean, I'm feeling good on the bike, and it's hard because when you're fighting with a guy that's not in the points right now, you kind of have that in the back of your head too. But I mean, of course, I want to win races, so we're gonna go back tonight and see what we can do to my Graves Yamaha extended service monster Yamaha, and see what we can do tomorrow.
Thanks, JD. Congrats.
All right, make no mistake that he and his crew chief, John Ethel, will put their heads down and try to get some things sorted out to make it an even closer race, because we know 0.3 of a second. Whoa, what a huge margin of victory in this one. A great race, though, from JD Beach, and he put on quite the display. You can see where his race strategy was unfolding.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, the fact that Valentin ran such a clean last lap, and JD was able to almost match the pace, but he couldn't quite get close enough to do anything with him. That'll definitely get John and JD together tonight, and they'll be ready for Sunday morning warm-up tomorrow and whatever changes they make.
Well, I guess can't say anything other than welcome back to MotoAmerica Racing, Valentin DeBees.
What a way to make a comeback, your first race back in the series this year. How happy are you right now to have pulled off a win?
I have no word on what I'm feeling now. It's you know, it was a long way since I showed up to this race, and I had only one time, one half day on the bike before the race, and so I didn't know where I was exactly. And yeah, I went to this race and I was like, okay, I maybe make a plan on I can manage the race and maybe win at the end. And that's exactly what my plan was, exactly what I was thinking. So I was like, oh, I keep first, and GD was pushing, I guess, in the back of me, and I was watching the screen TV on the left of the track to see where he was. And one time I saw he was a little bit more in my back. So I was like, okay, this is the lap where I need to push, and then I keep my head down until the finish line, and I win that race. It mean a lot to me, and I want to thank my crew for waiting for me. So thanks M4 Suzuki and Extar. All my guys make a big job, and they help me with the bike. So thank you to them, and thank you to everybody for being here.
Well, congrats, Valentin. Greg, Jason, that's a pretty interesting strategy, using the screens when you're on the track like that. What do you think?
Perfect. I think, you know, these guys, we hear it an awful lot now, where we're able to kind of look at those screens a little bit and see what's behind us. We got pit boards and all those things, but anything you could do to plan your race, that's what you got to do. And the guy just rode perfect the whole time. Didn't see one single mistake. Planned his race. He's always been a pretty good guy at that, planning his race, but from the time he rolled out in first practice, he was ready to go this weekend.
I wonder if our outstanding camera crew here at beIN Sports understood that they were involved in this race win. Valentin DeBees, JD Beach, Hayden Gillum, your top three. Corey West with a great recovery, finishes 21 seconds back. And then that awesome battle for fifth spot. Bryce Prince got Braden Norton, you can see, by 100th of a second. Nick McFadden, Anthony Mazziato, and Miles Thornton rounding out your top nine. So our coverage continues from Road America here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, as we'll take a break here on beIN Sports. But don't go anywhere. There's so much coming at you. as podium celebrations get underway here at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for Supersport race number 1 of the Dunlop Championship of Road America. Let's take a look at the championship standings. You can see J.D. Beach has eked out a 34-point gap now over Hayden Gillum. It was 30. Corey West solidly in 3rd spot at the moment. Braden Nort in 4th with Nick McFadden nipping at his heels. Anthony Mazziato also in the mix. Escalante, unfortunately for him, in his quest for a good solid position, he stays in 7th spot. Now, Jason, we take a look at those championships, but it was really a big moment of the race here, and this has to be the pass for the lead.
Yeah, this is when they came up upon a back mark here, Greg, and it allowed J.D. Beach to kind of get back up on the back of him. J.C. Camacho earlier had tipped over in turn 5, but he picked his bike up and kept going. But that really was the time when J.D. closed the gap up to the back of Valentine DeBeese.
But it was a masterful performance by him. I mean, he laid it down on the last lap when he had to. Just a couple tenths of a second off his best qualifying time on race rubber. 11 laps into this race. M4 X-Star Suzuki's Valentin DeBeese. So we asked you what you thought. Here are some results from our Twitter poll. Is a lot of people, they know race action. 50% of you chose Valentin DeBeese as the winner of this race. And guess what, half of you? You were right. Great job. Congratulations to that rider. Valentin DeBeese on his 2018, I didn't think I'd be saying this, 2018 debut in MotoAmerica. So he comes back in fine style. And could this be the build of the confidence for Valentin DeBeese? They still have another race tomorrow. We'll see what the other competitors have for him. We'll take a break. When we come back, more coverage as Superbike looms off in the distance.